Hare Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna
Hare
Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Peace step on humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So it's only fitting that I apologize to all of you. I depend on material technology, and if I make one hitch, then everything gets thrown off. And that's the problem. So I rely on my cell phone to get the, go on off an alarm and let me know that it's time to get on. I was listening to Janet Molly's Founders lecture and just basically lost track of time. Anyway, so here I am. Okay, 3:16:37. Okay. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivajikacharya Stotra Satsasi Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Yay.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivajikacharya Stotra Satsasi Maharaj His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavind Ki Jai.
Yay.
Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki
Yay.
Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Yay.
Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavind Ki Jai.
Yay.
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Swami Kun Radha Kun
Giri go.
Giri Govardhana Ki Jai.
Yay.
Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai.
Yay.
Mathura Dham Ki
Yay.
Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki
Yay.
Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki
Yay.
Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai.
Yay.
Ganga Mai Ki Jai.
Yay.
Jamuna Mai Ki Jai.
Yay.
Tulsi Devi Ki Jai.
Yay.
Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare
Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Bo.
Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Nityanamani Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhartha Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Namani Narayana Namaste Chanarunte Vam Narutamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tatujayam Mudirayat Nashyapai Swabhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 16, and Text 37. Okay. Vishwasya Sthiti Layo Dvavahetu Adyo Yogeshwara Apidurachaya Yogamaya Shemam Vida Shati Sano Bhagavam Tradishas Tatras Madhya Vimishena Kiyan Iharta Vishwasya Sthiti Labhyod Bhavahetu Adyo Yogeshwara Apiduratyaya Yogamaya Shemam Vidya Shatisano Bhagavam Kadishas Tatras Madhya Vimishena Kiyan Iharta Vishwasya Sthiti Labhyod Bhavahetu Adyo Yogeshwara Apidurachaya Yogamaya Shemam Vidyashyati Sano Bhagavam Tradisha Tatasmadi Abhimishena Kriyan Iharta. Hare Krishna. Please chant. Hare Krishna. Anyone?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, give it a try.
Vishashaya sthiti layobdhaya heturado Yogeshvaraya api durattaya jogomaya Shemam vidashayati shana bhagavan strayadhishas Tatrasmadiya bhimrashena kiyan ihartha. Hare Krishna.
विश्वस्यया स्थितिलयोद्भव हेतुराद्यो योगेश्वरैरपि दुरत्यया योगमायाः क्षेमं विदस्यति स नो भगवांस्त्रयोदिशास् तत्रास्मदीय विमर्शेन कियन् हिदा इहरतः. Third.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vishwasya yah sthiti layodbhava heturahadyo Yogeshwarair api duratyaya yogamaya Shemam vidasayati sano bhagavan strayadishas Tatra samadhiya imrisena kiyan vihataha. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
विश्वस्य या स्थितिलयोद्भवहेतुराद्यो योगेश्वरैरपि दुरत्यय योगमाया क्षेमं विधास्यति स नो भगवांस्त्रयाधीशस्तत्रास्मदीयविंश्रेण कियानि हर्था.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Okay, maybe you can go for the word for word. Hare Krishna. So word for word, Vishvasya of the universe. Yahu, Sthiti, maintenance. Laya, destruction. Udbhava, creation. Hetu, the cause. Adya, the most ancient person. Yoga Ishware, by the masters of yoga. Api, even. Duratyaya, cannot easily be understood. Cannot be easily understood. Yogamaya, his Yogamaya potency. Kshemam, good. Vidyashyati, will do. Sa, he. Na, of us. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Adisha, the controller of the three modes of material nature. Tatra, there. Asmadiya, by our. Vimri Shena, deliberation. Kiyan, what? Iha, on this subject. Artha, purpose. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear sons, the Lord is the controller of the three modes of nature and is responsible for the creation, preservation, and dissolution of the universe. His wonderful creative power, Yogamaya, cannot be easily understood even by the masters of yoga. That most ancient person, the personality of Godhead, will alone come to our rescue. What purpose can we serve on his behalf by deliberating on the subject? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When something is arranged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should not be disturbed by it, even if it appears to be a reverse, according to one's calculations. For example, sometimes we see that a powerful preacher is killed, or sometimes he's put into difficulty, just as Haridas Thakur was. He was a great devotee who came into this material world to execute the will of the Lord by preaching the Lord's glories. But Haridas was punished at the hands of the Qazi by being beaten in 22 marketplaces. Excuse me. Similarly, Lord Jesus Christ was crucified, and Prahlad Maharaj was put through so many tribulations. The Pandavas, who were direct friends of Krishna, lost their kingdom, their wife was insulted, and they had to undergo many severe tribulations. Seeing all these reverses affect devotees, one should not be disturbed. One should simply understand that in these matters there must be some plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavatam's conclusion is that a devotee is never disturbed by such reverses. He accepts even reverse conditions as the grace of the Lord. One who continues to serve the Lord even in reverse conditions is assured that he will go back to Godhead, back to the Vaikuntha planets. Lord Brahma assured the demigods that there was no use in talking about how the disturbing situation of darkness was taking place, since the actual fact was that it was ordered by the Supreme Lord. Brahma knew this. Lord Brahma knew this because he was a great devotee. It was possible. Lord Brahma knew this because he was a great devotee. It was possible for him to understand the plan of the Lord. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the third canto, 16th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Two Doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, Jai and Vijay, cursed by the sages. Oma Ganati Virandasya Gana Gana Shalakaya Chakshu Amilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaisnavam Scha Sri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Kriye Vanchakalpatarubhishya Kripa Sindhive Eva Chaptitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachayani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschathyadi Shatayani Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gurase Namaha Anandali Damaya Vigrahaya Himabiri Vachavishandaraya Tasmi Mahaprem Raspadaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Hare Krishna. Okay, so read the translation again. So the translation for this is, my dear sons, when the Lord is the controller of the three modes of material nature and is responsible for the creation, preservation, and dissolution of the universe. His wonderful creative power, Yogamaya, cannot be easily understood even by masters of yoga. That most ancient person, the personality of Godhead, will alone come to our rescue. What purpose can we serve on his behalf by deliberating on the subject? Okay. Now, so this is a conclusive statement given by Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma has many sons, some of them demigods, and some of them very saintly personalities who do so much work on behalf of the task given by Lord Vishnu for Lord Brahma to do. Lord Brahma is the one that put the varieties there in the universe, different planets and different things on the planet. But now he's talking, and he's also very much, knowledgeable because Vedas have been taught to him by Krishna. So this is one text that will really impinge on or require much humility to understand. Srila Prabhupada is mentioned in the purport reverse, or reversals. Reversals happening in our lives and how we are supposed to codify it. We'll get to that a little later. My dear sons, Lord Brahma is saying, first, he establishes the Lord's position. He is the controller of the three modes of nature. And he also is responsible for the creation, preservation, dissolution of the universe. When such statements are made, the understanding, especially the second part, this is two statements. One, he's a controller of the three modes of nature. And second, he's responsible for creation, preservation, and dissolution of the universe. When the Lord appoints some other personality to do some work, and the personality does it, still, he's the cause of it, he instructed, and therefore, he's the one that's to be given credit. That is why Srila Prabhupada, after all that work that he did here, if anybody praises him for the work that he did, he would say, it's by the mercy of my spiritual master. Of course, we've been taught to say that also. But in Srila Prabhupada's example, it's very obvious because it wasn't Srila Prabhupada's idea to go to the West to preach. It was his spiritual master that told him to go to the West to preach in the English language. So when he did that, and people say, oh, Srila Prabhupada, you've done so much for the world. He says, it's by the mercy of my spiritual master. But by the mercy of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj. But it's also by his instruction to do it. So Srila Prabhupada correctly gives his spiritual master the credit. And here, Lord Brahma is doing the same thing also, giving Lord Vishnu the credit for the creation, for the preservation, for the dissolution of the universe. Although we know when it comes to dissolution, it's actually Lord Shiva's job to do it. But still, he's the one, Lord Vishnu is the one given credit for it because the entire thing was originated from him. He's the controller of the three modes. Yes, he said everything. Aham sarvasya prabha, everything comes from me. Mata sarva prabhatate. Both material and spiritual world comes from me. I'm the source of it. So the three modes of nature operate in the material world, and Krishna is saying he's the source of both material and spiritual. Therefore, he is the source and automatically the controller of the three modes of nature. But now, Lord Brahma moves from that to his creative power, Yogamaya. Yogamaya cannot be easily understood by anyone except Krishna himself. Since even by the masters of yoga, they can't understand. Yogamaya is used by Krishna as a very important, for lack of a better word, ingredient in his pastimes. Sometimes some things are changed in a way that makes it difficult for us to understand. We'll take one example. Now, this may be over our heads, but still, it's in the Shastra, so we'll mention it because it has especially got something to do with Yogamaya. The Rasa dance for Krishna. and the gopis. We know, we've heard it enough times, it happens at night, in the middle of the night. The gopis have husbands, but they really are properties of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mm. For etiquette and for the way things are done normally, women get that age, they have to get married, so on. So yeah, they've done that part. But they belong to Krishna. So when Krishna wants them to come to the forest to sport or to dance with them, it happens in the middle of the night. But because they're married, then Krishna arranges through Yogamaya so that the husbands will not be bewildered that, my wife's supposed to be lying next to me all of a sudden. Where's my wife? I can't find her. That would be a little bit disturbing. So, Jeff, let me call you back. I'm on Zoom right now. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Sorry about that. So what happens? Yogamaya arranges for a double for all of the gopis to look just like the wives, so that the husbands would see that there is someone there. This is the middle of the night. I shouldn't wake that person up. She's my wife. So they leave the double alone. But actually, Krishna is used Yogamaya to put a double there, so that it seems like somebody's in the house, but all the gopis are really gone to go celebrate this pastime with Krishna. Now, from a material standpoint, it could be very, very mind-blowing. But one thing that more than one sannyasi in our movement has reminded us about, is that the material world is a reflection and a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Therefore, some things, and if it's perverted, some things may happen in an opposite way. So what we accept by our laws to be the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do is not necessarily how things operate in the spiritual world. Ours is a perversion. What we got to understand is Krishna is the supreme controller of all there is. So he's not below anybody's law. He's above the law. He owns everything. Aham sarvasya prabhava. And that's why if he decides by his own supreme will that things are going to be done a certain way, and he employs Yogamaya to help for that to happen, since he's control of everything, all we can do is, even if it doesn't sound good to us, we just kind of smile and leave it alone, because we're talking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead here, who is not under any laws. And we can compare him to us, and if you compare him to us, we are conditioned souls in this material world, trying to get back to the spiritual world. So who are we to comment on what Krishna does? And that's the point we need to understand. There's another part which we'll get to, which helps us to go through this difficult times that happen in our lives. And it's also from Lord Brahma, this time in the 10th canto. But in the purport, Srila Prabhupada said the very first thing he says, when something is arranged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should not be disturbed by it. I remember this conversation between Bhishma with a whole bunch of arrows inside of his body, lying on this bed of arrows. And Krishna and the Pandavas come to see him, and the Pandavas have their heads drooped down. And Bhishma knows there's something wrong, so he asks them, why are you all feeling like this? And they talked about Dronacharya, their military spiritual master, leaving the body. And then they would explain how that happened. And Yudhishthira, that's never told a lie, had to admit that He was responsible for the whole deception. Hmm? And so then Bhishma started asking questions. You lied? And then the question to Krishna was, but Krishna, yeah, now this, right? I mean, just take the whole idea, because there was quite a little bit of exchange. But the whole point Bhishma was making is, the Lord, couldn't you have come up with another way to deal with Dronacharya had to leave? Did it have to be through a lie by Yudhishthira? Couldn't you have done it another way? Hmm? He was basically, that was the question, that was what he meant. But then he caught himself. Bhishma caught himself, and then he says, well, it's the Lord. It's the Lord. You're the one that controls everything. So I'll just leave this alone. I'm trying to figure out what else could have been done, but you don't figure out what else could have been done when it comes to the Lord and the Lord's plans. And that's the point that we need to understand. Hmm? You leave it alone. Because as your Papa tells us, we have tiny brains. And when the Lord does something, so many things connect to that one decision that he's made and the strategy that he's used. And if we convince ourselves that this is what Krishna is doing and I'll trust him completely, even though materially it seems like the thing that's happened is an unfortunate thing. If we surrender to Krishna's plans in that way, we're going back to Godhead. Mm-hmm. In other words, if we don't use material way of thinking to try to justify or even have problems with what Krishna has done, then we really have surrendered to Krishna fully, and in that way we can go back to Godhead, because then we have shown that whatever happens in the spiritual world, whatever way it happens, we're not going to question it. We're going to go along with it with full trust in Krishna that he knows what he's doing. And even if it's just for fun, it's just for fun. We leave it alone, but not put our minds to it that, oh, maybe it could have been done another way. And that is a reality that we as devotees, even while we're conditioned in this material world, have to get to. In other words, you have to trust Krishna completely when it comes to his plans. And the other thing in the spiritual world, why the material world, is a perverted reflection. It's a reflection, but it's also not even a clean reflection. It's a perverted reflection. Should bring us to the point that some things, and Bhakti Swami stressed on this too, some things that happen in the spiritual world and is regarded as the highest way in which to relate to Krishna, some things are taken as the wrong thing to do in the material world. And that's where the perversion is. But it's not perversion in the spiritual, it's perversion based on the material. If you go dance with somebody's wife in the middle of the night, you got problems. That's in the material world. But Krishna can do it, and it's regarded as the highest way in which Madhurya Ras, Krishna, is relating. Mm? So again, this is the level that we need to understand. We have to mature to that point where we don't question those kind of things, but we leave it alone, because Krishna is controller. And when you're controller and everything is from you and everything is controlled by you, then basically it boils down to what? You can do as you like. That's why so many things by his supreme will, he does this by his supreme will. We keep saying it all the time, but we have to imbibe that. Mm-hmm. So that is it's if we got to understand that before we can go home, because we're not going to go home back to Godhead and start criticizing Krishna for some of the things that he does. Can't do that. And so in this case here, Prabhupada gives the example. Haridas Thakur, he was a great devotee. He was put in the difficulty. He was beaten in 22 marketplaces by the hands of a Chankad, the Qazi at the time. Jesus Christ, he was crucified. Prahlad Maharaj was put to so many tribulations. All of that Srila Prabhupada is explaining. Pandavas, they were with Krishna, but they lost their kingdom. First of all, the kingdom was divided, and they were given the part that was totally undeveloped, and even demons lived there. They develop it, make it a very nice place called Indrapras. Then envious Duryodhan arranges for them to lose their kingdom through dice. And then later on another one, which even put them out for a good 12 years minimum. And then 1 year of incognito situation when the Pandavas were so popular, they were supposed to live and not be discovered as Pandava, as who they really are. And on top of that, Duryodhana is sending his spies to go find him so that they can break the anonymity. This is all going on. And Krishna knows this. And these are surrendered devotees to the Lord. So our material minds will say, why, and this and why was Draupadi insulted, they tried to strip him naked, all of those kind of things. So Srila Prabhupada says, seeing all of these reverses that affect devotees, one should not be disturbed. One should simply understand that in these matters, there has to be some plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, apart from that, there's another place too in the Shastra where Draupadi was mentioning in prayer to the Lord that even though we're going through all kinds of disturbances, I know that you're always there to help us when the need arises, where we have nowhere else to turn, nowhere else or nothing else that we can do. You will always solve that situation. And so Draupadi was expressing his total understanding and surrender and belief that Krishna is always going to be there for us. And of course, Pandavas have lived their lives here. This lifetime when they came about 5,000 years ago, we know how things panned out from the beginning all the way to the end. And Krishna was there for them throughout. Everything that Duryodhana tried, it seemed like he was going to get somewhere. He lost. When it came to the Battle of Kurukshetra, the armies were outnumbered 11 Akshohinis to 7 Akshohinis. Bigger army was on the side of Duryodhana. Lord Bhishma, that could not be killed, he was on the side of Duryodhana. The expert teacher that taught all of them, Dronacharya, he was on the side of Duryodhana. The Narayani army was on the side of Duryodhana. Still, because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas won. So when things are seemingly even so overwhelming, the odds are overwhelming against us. If we keep our faith in the Lord, in Guru and Krishna, then things will happen in the end in a way that benefits us. That is one thing that we need to understand. It will benefit us one way or the other. Now, we should be able to distinguish two things. The first that we just talked about, where we have complete trust in Krishna, so even if we're going through reversals, we have a confidence it will end well. And that has to be distinguished from when we are actually being slapped on the wrist because we've done something wrong. Krishna also punishes. And if that goes all the way to the end without any kind of relief, then that is punishment that we deserved. And Krishna has given us a light punishment based on what he did and what we had done as the wrong thing. But we deserve more punishment. So Krishna will also slap our wrist, tap us a little bit when we go wrong. That is to bring us back to the proper way of reasoning and the proper way of doing things so that this path that we're on, that is the royal path, my Guru Maharaj calls it the royal path of devotion. that we do not slip from it and get caught by Maya. So all of that plays into, it should play into our thinking, because this process, Bhakti Yoga, is a very sublime process. It takes us to the planet in the spiritual world, which is much, 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 much more versatile than any of the other planets. There are ways in which we relate to the Lord. There are actually more ways than 5, but the 5 principal ones that have been enunciated are Santaras, and which is the ras of neutrality, Dasharas, which is the ras of servitorship, Sakya ras, which is the ras or mellow of friendship, Vatsalya ras, which is the mellow of parent, where Krishna becomes the son and the devotee becomes the parent, and Madhurya ras, where Krishna is the ones that everybody is given those in that ras have given their hearts to in love. So I'll just take a little bit and read from this book, which is called the Sri Sri Prayo Bhakti Rasanava. And I'm trying to get to the page that I wanted to read from. Devotional service and pure love. Okay, all right. Now, some of the things that we need to do as devotees. Some of them we'll find out. I'll read some of those. There are 64 items of devotional service. We're not going to go through all of them. Nectar of Devotion describes it wonderfully. Now, interestingly enough, the first ones have to do with the spiritual master. Spiritual master is one that will take us back to Krishna. Spiritual master's role is quite varied. One, he preaches to us. Second, that's all spiritual masters. And he also, the spiritual master has initiated us, given us a name that makes us remember Krishna, and also put us in the situation of being a servant. Our last names are all servant, Das and Dasi. The spiritual master instructs us, and he also is the one that has had a contract or made a contract with the spiritual world that he, the spiritual master, would guide the devotee back to the spiritual world. That is a contract between the spiritual master and the spiritual world and Krishna. Then the other one is that the disciple vows to then follow the instruction of the spiritual master, and which some of them I just said plainly in front of everybody, the 4 regulated principles and the chanting of at least 16 rounds of japa every day. So that's there. Now, the spiritual master plays another role. In fact, there are 2 more roles. One definite, and the other one, it depends on the spiritual master himself. The definite one is the initiating guru is the one that takes us with him back to the spiritual world. When we leave our bodies, the spiritual master connects with us. And what's the reason? To meet Krishna. And why does he meet Krishna like that? It's because the spiritual master is going to try to help us by getting Krishna to allow us to go back to Godhead, to allow us to enter into Vaikuntha. Which means we can also be rejected. And this is when people did take birth again and try to continue wherever they left off. So when the spiritual master is pleading our case, we call him like the defense attorney, spiritual defense attorney, to try to plead to Krishna that please be merciful on this particular soul. He's putting quite a bit of effort to try to go back home. Now, if the spiritual master says that, or can say that in confidence to Krishna, then we have to back up his statements by our actions. Because for a guru to say to Krishna that this person has put in the effort, then we have to put in the effort while we're here. Otherwise, the spiritual master will not be inclined to make a statement like that to Krishna. He can't deceive Krishna. So it's necessary to put in the effort in bhakti. One of the activities in devotional service that gets Krishna's attention, gets Radha's attention, is devotional service associated with duties in the temple. The duties in the temple are important because the temple is 100% all based on activities for Krishna. It's not like the house. House, yes, you can do some things, but it's a concession to keep our devotee life going. The main activities is done in the embassy of the spiritual world, which is the temple. So we're saying that's a long roundabout way of saying that it's good to have services in a temple. And if you don't have a regular service in a temple, I know not all devotees in the congregation will have services like that, but you watch. There's two things you can do. One is you watch for some service that could be done or something that can be done in the temple is not done yet, and you volunteer to do it. You don't even have to ask, can I do this? No. If you see it's obvious to you that something is supposed to be done and is not done yet, then you can just jump and do it. So you should be alert like that. And the other one has to do with our conversations. When we're in prasadam time, we talk with each other. In the conversation, if you hear some things that the devotee has talked about that it's a difficulty for him or something that he or she needs done, and you can help, you should volunteer to help. If you volunteer to help, one, that devotee will be very happy because you volunteered to help him or her. But not all. Guru will be happy with us and Krishna will be happy with us, because then we are helping the person to be more convinced about staying in the association of devotees. They got the help from a devotee. You help them. So, of course, your relationship between you and the devotee would definitely improve. There's no question about that. But also, the person will have more confidence in the society as a whole, because you belong to that society and he or she belongs to that society. So they can think this society is good for me because that's where I got this type of help. And then Krishna is happy because we are making the devotee feel good to be in that association, in that congregation. Therefore, they won't think of leaving. The happier a person is with being in the organization, the more difficult it is for Maya to get them out of the organization. That's the point we're making. And it comes from kindness. Now, when it comes to things that are difficult, and those things do happen, sometimes there's disagreements, there's some discrepancies. How do we handle it? We should always help, but help if we can. If we cannot help, then it means it's not for us to help. If we cannot, then it's not for us to help, because if it is, Krishna will give us the means and the intelligence to help. What we're saying is we shouldn't fall into the trap of criticism. It is a trap. It's a trap by Maya. This time Mahamaya, not Yuga Maya. And therefore, we have to be careful not to just criticize and walk away. That doesn't help. That is under the heading of, for lack of a better word, Prajalpa, gossip. Just saying something negative and leaving it, and it doesn't help anyone. So we have to be willing to help solve the situation, or tell somebody that maybe can solve the situation, or pray about it. This is all negative situations I'm describing it. But the one thing we should stay away from is just to criticize. Criticize and talk to somebody else and find somebody else that feels the same way as you do, and then we just, just talk about it, and we all feel that it's negative and this should happen, that should happen. Well, Sometimes we feel something should happen and something else should happen, but Krishna is actually working underneath. He's the cause of all causes, working underneath to straighten things out. Sometimes why we see some things one way underneath, it's actually the Lord Himself that's helping someone to come to a particular level of realization that's helpful for them to grow. And that situation affects everyone, senior devotees as well as those who just came or have been there in a couple of years. It affects everybody. Why? Because we're going through the whole process of anatta nivritti, getting rid of unwanted desires, and that is across the board. If you're not pure, you're one of those going through anatta nivritti, trying to get rid of unwanted desires. And that is one position in this whole process of going from faith all the way up to Krishna Prema. That is the one position that the devotees spend a lot of time at, getting rid of unwanted desires. Now, what can help speed it up is one understanding that Radha Maharaj repeats over and over and over and over again. There's hardly any lecture that I heard from him that he didn't bring it out. He reminds devotees, Maya is very strong. Maya is it's a very big statement. In other words, we shouldn't take things lightly. Maya has so many ways to get us to trip and fall off the path. And Maya never really starts with a big, bomb, boom, and then we're off. No, it's always with small suggestions. If there is a way in which we do our sadhana, the way we've timed it, at this time I do this, at this time I do this. And when the body gets a little tired, Maya will jump in immediately. Oh, why don't we sometimes do this? We're tired, why don't it begins to suggest things, and if we take one of them, that's all it takes. The suggestion comes, if he takes it, that's all it takes. Next thing you know, your program is changed. Maya is very strong. So we have to be alert. I remember one thing that Bhakti Maharaj said, and in the lecture that he was preaching to us, and he mentioned this. Says, we go to Mangalati in the morning. This was at the time we were living in Girinagri, so this was regular for all of us to get up early and go for Mangalati. But he says sometimes that happens to me too. Yes. The time comes for me to wake up, the alarm goes off, and my body says, you're tired. He's sannyasi, the spiritual master, he's saying this. So I say, oh, why don't you? No, Maya's coming up with a different solution, or a different suggestion, not a solution, a different suggestion. And he says immediately he strikes it off because he knows that this is another trick of Maya. So we have to be careful. Maya will try to deceive us. Maya, even for what we talked about today, will start making people think, well, so if all of these things can happen, the Krishna will let negative things happen because he has a plan, but in the meantime, we're suffering because of that negativity, then how kind is Krishna? Why should we say Krishna is kind when things happen to us in that way? Haridas Thakur, truth be told, he was beaten. He suffered some pain before Lord Chaitanya jumped in and took the rest of it. Where Haridas Thakur was not feeling the pain anymore. Truth be told, the Pandavas, their wife, was stripped. His hair was pulled. He was dragged to blind Dhritarashtra's his courtroom, the meeting place. And they really, really wanted to humiliate her badly, right in front of everybody. And it was also a situation where the elders were there. The elders were there. Bijou was there. Drona was there. And nobody protested. Nobody even talked to the king. Hey, this isn't a good thing to do at all. Change it. Stop it. It took Gandhari to come in, and it took Vidur before anything began to get changed. But at that time, Krishna had already helped Draupadi by wearing out the Dushasana pad and Dushasana trying to strip Draupadi of that one cloth. And Krishna wore him out because Draupadi appealed to Krishna. She couldn't do anything else. So yes, reversals will happen. We should look at it in two ways. If we're doing everything correctly, then it's not punishment. And if we're doing something wrong, then sometimes the reversal, whatever happens to us, can be punishment. Just to bring our minds back to center, to do the right thing. But if we know we've done something, everything is okay, but then something negative has happened, Krishna may be behind it. Krishna is always the cause of all causes. Which I said may be behind it because we have our free will too. Sometimes we do things, sometimes we have to pay for it. But the other part of it is when it is happening, we should look at it as there would be something that Krishna is getting at. Sometimes we go through a whole negative situation and the suffering that comes with it. All the way to the end, we go through it. It is like, why? Well, sometimes the reason is Krishna is going to use us. This is a person that's fully surrendered to the Lord. Krishna can use us in the future to put us in a situation where somebody else is going through what we've experienced as a reversal. And Krishna would arrange for that person to be next to us or in our association or reveal to us what's going on. And now, since we've experienced it, we'll be in a much better position to guide that person as to what to do. So sometimes Krishna will make us experience certain things that seems like reversal in order to put us in a situation where we can counsel someone else to keep them in the society still from our counseling and from our help. And some of you may know from October, middle October to actually now still, I had some medical challenge. Interestingly enough, that medical challenge, the surgeon, the place where the surgeon works, there's a nurse that he works, a nurse practitioner. And so after the surgery, of course, my body has to heal. And so the surgeon saw it, but then I was given to the care of this particular nurse practitioner. Well, guess what? The nurse practitioner had gone through the exact same thing that I had gone through. So now she has experience about it. She has a knowledge of medicals, but she also has experience because she's gone through it before. So she was just explaining to me, this one happened, that one happened. Now, if you hear that somebody is going through, he's a professional medical person, but he's gone through what you've gone through, you really would have a lot of confidence in what that person is going to say. And that's the kind of nurse practitioner that I got. She had been through that reversal. And so when I was going through the reversal, Krishna has arranged for me now to see a person who has experience of it and also medical knowledge about it. So sometimes we get put in situations where we go through reversals and we are able to help someone else, like the nurse, this one, with the experience of that particular discomfort, now helping me. So, but on the face of it, negative things have happened, things that are disturbing. But see, Krishna uses it in different ways, though. So, yes, in this situation, God Brahma has described what has happened to the gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, and they come into the material world. But when they came, so many things happened. Demons got displaced. A whole bunch of demons. They were coming to act as demons, but they weren't alone. There were other demons that were part of the act too. And more cleansing happened. The Lord got an opportunity to fight because he wanted to. This is what started it. But so many things worked better for the different situations. And these are 6 different situations. Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, and for the Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad Maharaj proved to us how much confidence we should have in the Lord. Then Hiranyaksha, that was between her and Mother Bhumi. Then Ravan and the lust situation, trying to kidnap Sita, he was given Maya Sita. And then Kumakan, laziness, sleep. We're going to wrap it up in a minute. Then Shishupal, and then Dantavaka. This whole thing about the Shishupal with the Rukmini situation, and Krishna came to, abduct to the eyes of the princess. He was abducting Rukmini, but to Rukmini, Krishna was doing exactly what Rukmini herself said that he should do, that he should do, to come take her, to get away from all of these kings that were demonic kings. So, yes, in all of these pastimes, it looks like some reversals happen to the devotees. But Krishna is always there. And if we submit ourselves to even be part of the reversal, so-called reversal, in order that Krishna might get a thing to happen the way he wants it to happen, if we get to that point, and we should strive to get to that point, just like the pure devotees are, we're guaranteed to go home. And so that's the lesson that we all need to learn. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you for coming on. And again, I apologize for I just get myself caught and listening to Chandramaya Swami sometimes at the same time. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Devotees, if you have any questions, please just unmute yourself or you can raise your hand and we can go in order. As usual, Prabhu, very, very thought-provoking class. And I think these last two chapters have been, like you were saying, these people will come into our lives to help us deal with the reversals that, they have had experience.
Yeah.
I think it was providence that at this time, this congregation is getting to hear these two chapters because it is, this is what we needed.
Yeah.
We need every verse in the Bhagavatam. Every verse will guide us, and every verse is meant for us to look within to see how to apply. And I think these two chapters, especially today, we have come to the end of this chapter. I'm sure going forward also there will be a lot for us to learn, but these have been particularly very useful for each one of us, I think. My question is, I think the lesson is that we should accept Krishna's way of handling what we think to be a crisis or a reversal or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, at least for me, what I'm trying to do is to, even if I don't understand, even if I don't accept, don't like, I'm trying to follow. I'm not feeling happy. I'm not feeling good about it. Is that okay? Or should I also, when you say you should accept that we don't understand it, but this is Krishna's decision, we should accept it. Is not feeling good about it also not right? That, if there's
I understand.
distress, there is distress, there is feeling of unhappiness or sadness or anger or whatever, but I'm trying to do the right thing, based on the instruction that's being given.
Yes.
Is that feeling also wrong?
All right. It's in one sense, it's very easy to answer that question because all you have to do is go back to Mahabharata and how the devotees of the Lord took things. How Draupadi took what happened to her. Did she not cry? Yeah, she did. But when you have your head pulled, are you going to be happy about that? Of course not. So our reactions are going to be there. That's natural. That's part of our human. So natural, that will be there. The reactions to that feeling that my body is being challenged or my mind is being challenged in a certain way, that is going to be there. we cannot act like, oh, well, because of what I know in Shastra, therefore I'm not going to act that. No, you'll be deceiving yourself then if you think that way. So, yeah, the reactions are okay. The reactions are not wrong. Our, I mean, the way we feel, but the action that we do after, that's what we have to be careful about. And that's why, again, Lord Brahma puts it in Canto 10, chapter 14, text 8, this Tatenu Kampa Sikshamano. And it says, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, and you know this is what we depend on, his causeless mercy, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, which means the reversals, and at the same time offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, even though they're going through the suffering, that person is eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. Now, let me hasten to add this. Those in the spiritual world understand this very well. When the Lord desired to fight, when Lord Vishnu, Narayan desired to fight, and the gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, wanted to help for that to happen in the material, even if it meant they had to go to the material world, they knew they were going to go through pain. If you're going to fight the Lord's going to beat you, and it's not going to be easy to take it. But still, they were ready to go to do that, only because the Lord wanted it. So if we get to the point, it comes to the same thing we're talking about. If we get to the point where we know that even the decisions that we've made involve some reversals or some pain or some challenge that's going to come, and we're willing to do it because it satisfies the Lord's senses, we're ready to go home. This is what Lord Brahma is saying. Because the pure devotees, they actually do it.
Yes.
They actually do it. And if we're getting too comfortable with the material world, then that's going to be difficult for us to do. But we gotta understand, see, the Lord is very merciful. And so even the reversals that come, sometimes it helps us to grow more. We've talked about having to go through a reversal, and sometimes another person's put in your life space and they're going through what you've been through, therefore you can advise them better. Okay, so that's also there. And sometimes it's things that we've done wrong, the Krishna is making us suffer the reactions for, so that will be away, they'll be gone, it won't affect us or stop us from going back to Godhead. That's also there. But this last one, which is when Krishna wants to do something, and the devotee that's going to help for that thing to happen will go through some physical discomfort over that. But they'll do it anyway because it's the Lord that wants things that way. And the devotee is saying, I'm totally surrendered. Now, that part, if you can get to it, then we really ready to go home then. And it's not the easiest thing, but it can be done. It can be done. Pandavas were a great example of that.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. So anyway, yeah. The question you asked was about what about the pain and so on that comes with it, that should we act? Yeah, pain is pain. It's natural. We should still behave. We're going through pain. We're going through pain. I mean, when I was in the hospital, I did my share of screaming. Oh my goodness, some parts of it very, very difficult to take. Very difficult to take. They ask you what's the pain level 1 to 10. I told them 10. It was at 10. I've said even 11 before. And they always laughed at me. But we're back. We're still serving. And so these things shouldn't worry us too much. And if it's going to worry us, then one thing that we could say, all right, we're not home. These things are happening to us. Now, we're not talking about pure devotees, we're talking about us, conditioned souls. We're not home. When we're back home in the spiritual world, these things won't happen. So that's bliss the whole time. Highest happiness the whole time. So, and that's another way of looking at it. If we're going through reversals, you can tell us, well, I put myself here. Krishna never asked me to come to the material world. And I'm going through what I'm going through. Had I been at home, would this happen to me? No. Okay, well, then whose fault? Mine. What should you do? take the process of Lord Chaitanya asks us to do seriously, so you don't have to deal with it anymore. That's also another way to look at it. Hare Krishna. It's a good question, actually. It's a very broad question you asked. Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Jai Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, God, you are fine.
Please accept my humble obeisances.
They're fine.
I think yesterday Yogamaya acted on me. So
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I had to go through some medical things.
Ah,
So it didn't work out on time and something like that.
not to worry.
So I'm really apologize.
No, I could apologize to you also. Wait, maybe after that I'll call you. Then we'll just talk.
Like afterwards,
After this
I will talk to you.
Yeah, after this class we'll talk. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, today's class, it's very interesting. And then how Yogamaya acts on us, and how we have to deal, like you're saying your medical things. Sometimes Krishna has some plans.
He always has.
I know.
Always does.
And then I don't know, in this material life, sometimes understanding is very hard.
Yeah.
So that we think that I did it all the time. Because of me it happened, because of somebody else did it. But that is not correct, I think. Krishna has some plans.
Yes.
He will do it.
We
And
think,
he will, at the end, he will show a very good result also.
yes. Yes.
Like Pandavas had.
Yeah.
At the end will have good result. Beginning, feel that little bit human feeling and material life, we have.
Yeah.
Very good class, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy. This is their mercy things to come out of. Because I'm also speaking, but I'm also learning at the same time and reminding myself at the same time.
Yeah.
This is very important. Don't give up at any situation. Don't let Maya give any excuses.
Yeah.
Especially Krishna is not taking care of me, therefore I don't like Krishna. There are people, my God family members, who after my Guru Maharaj left, it became clear that those that were not listening to his instruction but were attracted to him, and he was very handsome too on top of that. Those that were very attracted to him. Yeah. I mean, it helped. A lot of people came around him because of how good he looked. But the thing is, you got to look past that to hear what he's saying. And after that, God remember, there's some that have gone on Messenger and Facebook and tried to just bring shots to things to bring them back, and they're going to Lord Shiva. And everything about Lord Shiva they're putting on Facebook. I was just shocked. I can't believe this. But now, so what happened?
Thank you very much for nice class today. The last chapter of this. Last text.
Oh, the mercy of Guru and Guranga.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments? Is Suma Mataji on? I don't know.
Yes, Suma is.
She's there.
Very nice class. Only everything I encourage to do more bhakti as I listen to your classes, and inspiring. Don't give up bhakti.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Okay, well, we can stop then, Mataji.
Yes.
All right, so thank you all. Are there any announcements?
Not that I know of. Sita is on. Maybe she has.
Okay.
No announcements. Just thank you very much for your class, man.
Well, one thing. Now I have an announcement.
Yeah.
to just remind devotees, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 o'clock, if you really can come on, you can, the same Zoom, come on, and we're reading Nectar of Devotion. So much nectar is coming out, boy. So if you can make the time, please come. We are in the qualities that we're supposed to learn. And each one of them is being taken, and Srila Prabhupada comments on it. We've gone through a couple of chapters, and still it's there about hearing, and there's so many things about hearing, and then the chanting, and so the 9 processes and more. And each one of them is discussed by Srila Prabhupada. Comment on that. So it's giving us deeper. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 o'clock, 5 to 5:30. Hare Krishna. It's going on now, so it's not a new announcement, but still, just in case some devotees try to put it in part, if you can make, you can free up the time. 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Hare Krishna. Same Zoom login. Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa
Vasindhubhya eva cha
Eva cha
patitanam
patitanam
pavane
pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo namo
namo
namaha.
namaha. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki
Ki
jai.
jai.
Jai. Jai.
Jai.